grow up, go to school, there's no period 6 real estate investing. There's no credit 101. There's no, I didn't know any of this. I bought my first house in 2020. I was a humble teacher and living in San Diego, but I was able to have zero living expenses.
It is the biggest house hack, and obviously you learned that watching Bigger Pockets and other things. So congratulations on that. I mean, that is really the best way to get in. So you started renting out the rooms, and you're living there relatively cheap.
Yeah, pretty much free.
Yeah.
I started posting about what I was doing, sharing about it on Instagram for years, right? 2 or 3 years. That didn't just turn into business, right? What eventually happened is that somebody was like, hey, you've been managing your own Airbnbs. Can you manage our Airbnb here in Claremont, which is a couple blocks away? And I'm like, yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. So how do you go from 3 to managing 35?
In life, there's a blueprint for everything. There's no need to start over. Hear from industry leaders, those at the top of their fitness journey, and real estate gurus. They tell you exactly how they did it. All you have to do is listen, learn, and execute. This is The Blueprint with Brad Rice.
All right, here we are again, back on The Blueprint, and today I've got a special guest for you. Today in the office, we've got my man, Billy Perez. Now, Billy took a drive up here from Encinitas in the rain just to come here and record with me. So I want to thank you for that, because not everybody will do that. Yeah. But he's got some business up here, so it all worked out. So Billy is really interesting because he's got a very relatable story. He spent 5 years part-time as a real estate investor while he was a teacher. And we're going to talk a little bit about how you break away from having a job that gives you a regular paycheck, a solid job like being a teacher, and become an entrepreneur, because Billy went through that process and he can share the ups and downs and how he made it happen. He also, when he started this process, he started with 3 vacation rentals, and within a year, you were managing 35. So he does this for STRs, he does property management, and 1 year to go from 3 to 35. That's pretty incredible. We want to talk about that. Also, he has a very lucrative vending machine business, which is super interesting. And I've got some stories about vending as well. So I definitely want to talk about that. And the last thing, it's like you've got your hand in a lot of different baskets now, is you're doing some coaching. And this is STR coaching, and it's helping some newbies get involved in that. And I think, in this day and age when young entrepreneurs are trying to get into real estate, that is an area they want to focus on. And so I'd love to learn a little bit more about, what that involves and what you're teaching them. Is it from the ground up, like learning from step one? Yeah. So anyway, welcome to the podcast, buddy.
I'm here. The Blueprint.
You are here on The Blueprint. And I want you to, spill some really good information on giving people literally the blueprint to doing these things. So why don't we start with that transition? So you were a teacher. What were you teaching, by the way?
Middle school Spanish.
Okay, I was going to say you were a PE teacher. You probably wore those stretchy shorts and the Russells.
They have a great job, the PE teachers.
I just picture you with a whistle.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so Spanish. I took 4 years of Spanish.
There you go.
And I don't remember hardly anything. So
that's pretty common.
My brother speaks fluent Spanish. He lives in Nicaragua.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
So, but you're a teacher, and then how did you actually, even think about you wanting to be an entrepreneur and get into real estate?
So the benefit of being a teacher, you get 3 months off a year. So that's a lot of time where you're not working. It's a lot of time where you're able to be diving into YouTube videos, podcasts, reading. I had a lot of free time. And so my first summer ever as a teacher, I was watching a lot of Bigger Pocket stuff. I was looking into all these creative financing. I was looking into, I only have to have 3.5% down to buy a house. All these different, these different ways to get into real estate. I had no idea, right? In my head,
So you didn't even own real estate at the time?
Not yet.
Okay.
No, not until 2020. And so when you grow up, you go to school, there's no class. There's no period 6 real estate investing. There's no credit 101. There's no, I didn't know any of this. I was 23, 24, and I was like, wait, all I have to do is be able to have $60,000 of gross revenue a year to be able to afford a $500,000 mortgage. No one told me that.
Yeah.
My parents didn't tell me that. Nobody knew. So learning that and realizing I could have roommates move in with me if I were to put 3.5% down on a home. They each pay me $800 at the time. That's very affordable rent in 2020 in San Diego. It paid for my entire mortgage.
Yeah.
So I bought my first house in 2020. I was a humble teacher and living in San Diego, but I was able to have zero living expenses.
Yeah.
And my roommates knew this. They were friends and my brother. And
that's a serious house hack. I've talked about this a number of times. And you did this with a single family. You rented out rooms, but you could easily have done that with a 2 or 3 or 4 unit and bought with an FHA loan, 3.5% down.
Oh, I wish I had.
They use the rental. Now, on a single family, this isn't the case. So just to really clarify, because for people listening to this and going, okay, thinking about buying my first house, and you did it while you still had your job, so you had the revenue or the income from your job to help you qualify, which is great. But on a single family, you can have the plan to rent out rooms, which my son does that, and it works out great. He lives there for free, and he rents out the rooms. He's single. But if you needed more income to qualify, then the way you want to do it is with units, 2, 3, or 4. You still do an FHA loan. You can do this with VA too, 0 down. You could do a conventional loan with a little more down. But you do an FHA loan, 3.5% down. You grab the income, projected income for the other unit or units, and that helps you to qualify for the loan.
yeah.
So it is the biggest house hack.
Yeah, totally.
And obviously you learn that watching Bigger Pockets and other things.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that. I mean, that is really the best way to get in. So you started renting out the rooms, and you're living there relatively cheap.
Yeah, pretty much free.
Yeah.
A year or so goes by, I realized that this thing called equity had been building up, and I didn't really understand that until someone approached me, like, a cold call was like, hey, do you want to do a cash out refinance? I'm like, what is that? And they're like, oh, basically your mortgage goes up, your payment goes up, but we give you $100,000 cash. And I'm like, that sounds awesome. Yeah, I want $100,000.
Plus, this is when rates were in the 2s, 3s, and
exactly.
low 4s.
So I was like, well, it's 2021. Like, I'm going to do that. So I bought a condo in Phoenix that was a turnkey Airbnb. Did not know anything about Airbnb. I watched one video about it where someone was doing it. They say, I knew the basics. If you make more than the mortgage every month and all the fees, you make money. And that's all I knew about it. I didn't know anything about marketing, photos, maintenance, cleaners. I didn't know shit. And so I went into this.
That's interesting. So I want to unpack that for people that are listening, because you give them the same blueprint. So you decide you're going to take this $100,000 from the cash out on your property, and you're going to go buy an Airbnb that's turnkey.
Airbnb.
So how do you find a turnkey Airbnb to purchase?
I'd say if you're considering joining the AmeriFund team, it's a really good idea.
We as processors at AmeriFund Home Loans support the loan officers in every aspect of the loan once it comes into processing, because we want them out there marketing themselves and originating more loans and supporting more borrowers.
Competitive commission plans are a given, and powerful technology is expected, but what truly sets us apart is our culture. We've built a solid support system for our loan officers.
If you're interested in joining the AmeriFund team, go to amerifund.com/careers.
Usually the listing agent writes it in the description. This is a turnkey Airbnb. It's being sold as an Airbnb. We have revenue for 2 years. We have all the furniture that's going to stay, all the contacts. And so I've done this actually 3 times now.
Okay.
So I've bought.
Is there a specific search online for that, or are you just talking to real estate agents?
They're just on Zillow.
Okay.
There's more now than there were before. Because
Okay.
people went in 2023, the mortgages are too high. They're not making enough. So they're like, I'm going to sell this. And then they sit in the market forever because they're trying to be sold as a premium. But I'm like, this isn't a multifamily property. This isn't you're not selling a business. You can't 2x your profit, your revenue. It's not the same for a single family home.
That's right.
They're trying to find this value in it, and there's really not a lot. And so you can actually get a pretty good bargain if you offer less and sell and undersell these listings, because they're trying to get out of them. They're 90 days sitting on the market. They're still taking reservations. They're just sitting there, and that's how we just closed on a property in Palm Springs the same way. We got it $50,000 under asking because it had been sitting for 100 days. And I was like, hey man, what do we got to do to get rid of this property for you?
That's a great hack.
And he was in.
Okay, I love it. Yeah, because they're tired of running the business, and they're forced to continue to run it to make the payments.
Yep.
And it's just sitting there.
Exactly.
So you're searching on Zillow. You find a listing, and in the description it says turnkey Airbnb.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So you take the $100,000, you go and buy this property, and how did you learn how to run it?
I figured it out as it was a crazy experiment. I was 25, and the HVAC broke within the first like month I bought it, and I was like, oh my god, so that's a big expense. All these things happen, but I learned I basically bought an Airbnb mastermind without buying one because it was I made so many bad decisions, so many choices. I never thought to hire a coach. I never thought to buy a mastermind or a course. I wasn't aware of it then. I didn't pay for any coaching or masterminds until 8 months ago. I didn't know about it. I just was like, oh, this is what I'll do. And I watched a couple YouTube videos about it and just figured it out. And so I was so new to the Airbnb game that I did not know what I was doing. It was an experiment. It really was. And so I got to 3. By 2022, I was at 3 listings because I turned the single family home I was living in into an Airbnb.
Oh, okay.
Moved out for a little bit. Built a tiny house behind the home in the corner of the lot. So we built a 350 square foot ADU. And we call it a tiny house. Sorry, it's ADU. 1 bed, 1 bath. And my wife and I ended up moving back into it once we got married. And we lived there behind our Airbnb. And we're, saving a ton of money because the loan for the ADU was like $600 a month.
Yeah.
So in San Diego, that's a bargain.
Yep.
And the Airbnb was doing, 110, 115, 120,000 a year. So we did that for 3 years before we moved to Encinitas.
That is pretty awesome. The fact that you also use another house hack, which is doing the ADU. So if you're in California, and you guys know this because I've been documenting my ADU and that I've been adding to one of my properties, and we're starting another one. California wants these.
Oh, yeah.
And they're very easy to push through and get approved. In fact, we did an interview with France Hanna. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's in San Diego. And he is an ADU consultant.
Oh, cool.
And so knowing the ins and outs and the intricacies of what you can maximize is incredible. So here you are. You basically are living in this ADU, which gives you direct access to manage the Airbnb in front of you with eyes on it, hands on it.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
so there's your 3.
Yep.
So how do you go from 3 to managing 35?
I started posting about what I was doing. Sharing about it on Instagram for years, right? 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
That doesn't just turn into business, right? What eventually happened is that somebody was like, hey, you've been managing your own Airbnbs. Can you manage can you manage our Airbnb here in Claremont, which is a couple blocks away? And I'm like, yeah, for sure. And how much do you want to charge? I'm like, I don't know. How much do you guys want to pay me? And we settled on a percentage of their gross revenue.
What is that percentage?
So when you're starting out, you want to try and get anywhere from 10 to 15%, right?
Okay.
You want to just get your feet wet. At least that's what I thought. I'm being told now, if I could do it all over again, start at 20.
Okay.
And because, all the top operators now, like Patrick and Joshua Tree, they're doing 25, 30, a lot. Right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
There's a lot you're doing. You're not just you're not a property manager. You're a hospitality expert. You're managing their mini hotel for them, and you're doing everything.
Yeah, it's
Everything
a lot more work than just strict property management for long-term rentals.
Long-term rental property management, and don't kill me, but long-term property managers out there, is relatively easy compared to the short-term game. You can have
100%.
tenants that you don't hear from for years.
Yeah, you can
You
for
just
sure.
collect a paycheck, right?
That's right, and you just listen to complaints here and there,
Yeah.
especially on residential. It can be pretty hands off,
Yeah.
which is why you only pay 5%
Exactly.
for that. So you got your first your first person, I guess. You were posting.
First
and
two. First
okay.
two were friends that knew me, same demographic, in their 20s, high-paying W-2s, own their homes, moved out and decided to go rent, and I started managing their properties early on. This was November 2023, so this is before I launched the business. So now I had my 3 properties. I had the 2 that I was managing for those friends. I had a desk job at the time, so I'd already quit my teaching job. I had a desk job at a real estate office, and I was doing long-term property management for them. So I was getting the best of both worlds. I had my short-term management company, which they knew, like my unofficial short-term management that I was doing for my properties and my friends, and then I was managing their 65, 70 homes for them on the long-term side, being paid pennies.
Okay.
I realized every client I was getting for this long-term company, they'd pay me a commission, like $500. I'm like, wow, that's so much. I did the math. I'm like, wait, they're making like $2,000 a year for like some of these clients have been here for like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm getting $500 one time. And I'm like, what if I put all this energy and time into getting my own management clients, right? My own short-term rental clients,
right?
Which those short-term rental clients in San Diego are anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 a year per client. And I'm like, that's way better than these long-term clients that are $2,000 a year, or even my measly little tiny commission of $500. So March 2024, I had the 2 friends, I had my 3, and then I took on 1 more from a neighbor. And then that neighbor talked to their neighbor, and they had me take on their property. I went out and met
It's
people.
really word of mouth.
It was all word of mouth. And to this
Until
day,
the catalyst was you were posting, so your friends saw it.
yeah, they
Said,
saw it.
"Oh
They knew.
shoot, Billy, you could help me out," and then it was word of mouth from there.
Word of mouth because I was posting about it, right? So we met neighbors who were like, "Hey, my mom owns an Airbnb in Mission Beach," and I'm like, "Oh, that'd be cool, like to manage a Mission Beach house. I don't know if I'm ready for that. That's a pretty big. Those are like $300,000 a year type of properties." And they were like, "Oh, we're gonna leave our management company. Will you manage it for us?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds awesome." And then they talked to their other friend, and their friend wanted me to manage their property, and so it just was word of mouth. I would go to the beers and deals meetups that Rich would put on. I met like 3 or 4 clients there, just like talking about it, just giving out business cards. Word of mouth, completely. I've never gotten a cold call from anyone. I've never had a Facebook ad do anything. I've never had all my leads, except for 2, have been through people that knew me and referred me. So it's the power
Imagine
of the
that.
relationship.
I say this all the time to salespeople. Like, if you're keeping yourself a secret, you're not going to grow your business. You got to tell people what you do.
If you have a business, why are you not posting about it? Why are you not sharing about it? You don't need to brag. Just talk about it.
That's right.
Literally be the annoying friend with the small business that posts on his Instagram. Oh, just took care of this leak. Just took care of this outlet.
Just
right?
tell stories.
It doesn't matter what you're doing. Electrical, plumbing, small business, real estate. Talk about it.
Yeah.
That's why I tell people now that I've been in the mastermind with Rich, in yourself, the 7-figure creator. I'm like, anyone that asks me like, "Oh, how do you start it? With what you're doing? How did you get to 35?" I'm like, I literally just was annoying and talked about it.
That's right.
It's okay to be shameless about it. Like, "Hey, I have a business. I started a business. Here's my business card. Hey, can you wear this shirt for me? I just got these nice comfort colored $40 t-shirts. Here you go." And just handing out t-shirts.
That's right.
And just being annoying, just being okay with that.
All right, so I have to ask you something because I don't have none of my properties are short-term rentals. They're all long-term.
Yeah.
And it's worked out very well, and
I have
I've done
long-term
very well with
properties
them
too.
and all that.
Yeah.
But I think that my issue with never getting into the short-term market was, and by the way, I've also never rented I've never gone and been in an STR. Like I just haven't gone on Airbnb and found, like I do hotels and I just get served and all that. But so I don't really relate to it so much. But I also think about, here's the thing that really gets me, and I think a lot of people ask this question: if you own property and you're like, who the hell wants to, rent this house for a night or a couple of nights? It's in the middle of my city. Like I'm in Simi Valley. It's like, this isn't a travel place. Like, who wants to come here? And it doesn't even make any sense. Explain to me how, if you're not in an area that, is like by the beach or, in wine country or somewhere where it's like people want to travel there and vacation and so forth, how do these places do it?
You're talking about like the remote areas?
No, just in regular residential areas. Like just a regular residential neighborhood where there's not a lot to do around, like for travel.
Yeah.
But they're short-term rentals and they stay busy. I don't get it, though. Are you a tech investor looking to shape the future of real estate? HomePie is the #1 for sale by owner marketplace, and we are revolutionizing the way homes are bought and sold. I'd love to hear from you. Just email invest@homepie.com and let's chat. Now back to the show. Who are those customers?
I have a couple clients like that where their property is pretty far from the beach. It's far from downtown. It's far from the airport. It's not really like in a pop-in zone like North Park where you can go walk to coffee shops or anything. It's in a normal residential neighborhood. It's in an HOA, right? People are traveling for whatever reason, and there's a bunch of different types of guests, right? You have people going on vacation. That's maybe like 40 to 50%. You have people there for work, right? They're getting placed there. They work for Oracle. They're there for 6 weeks, right?
Okay.
You have traveling nurses, right? The classic traveling nurses, doctors, whatever is needed in that area. But a lot of business that I've been getting lately is people's houses that have been affected by fire, floods, whatever reason. Right?
Okay.
And that's a big market for a lot of short-term rental operators because now you're blending in the midterm, the 30 days or more. And so I have a couple properties.
Do you charge them less when you do that per night?
Yes, because there's not as much work if it's worked out in the contract beforehand. But if it's like a short-term rental client that's 20% and I get a insurance claim that wants to stay there for $12,000, if it's not in our contract, we're going to take 20%.
Yeah.
But I do have clients where it's in our contract. If I get a month-long booking, your rate goes from 20 to 15, just as a courtesy to them.
Yeah,
it's less
got
work.
you.
But then
are they charging less for? I mean, is the person that's renting it paying less?
No.
Oh, they pay the same amount as
a lot of times it's the same
one night or 2 nights.
As long as a lot of times it's as much as you would get in a 30 days out of 30 days rented property.
Wow.
Sometimes more. So they're super lucrative because it's insurance. So there's Sometimes they're like, hey, you have a budget of $10,000, and they reach out to you, and I'm like, oh, last year in February we made 7,000, so I'll take 10,000.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Okay, so you're telling me like you have this one that's in just a regular residential area, not near anything exciting that people would want to travel to, and it stays busy.
Yeah.
Like how many
normal
nights a month?
We have a couple that are newer, so it's hard to like compare it year round, but they're very busy. We're 80% or more.
Okay, so I got to ask you this. So I just finished. Like we just got our final. In fact, I don't even have it in hand yet. Like we just got our final on this ADU. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath.
Nice.
Beautiful place.
Here?
And when I say beautiful, the finishings are gorgeous. It is a beautiful place. Has a washer and dryer in it. Just no fridge. I didn't put a fridge in because I was going to do long-term rental. And I have it listed for $3,250. Okay, 800 square feet, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, gorgeous place, $3,250. What would that make as a short-term rental?
I'd have to plug that address into some software.
Oh,
and
okay.
really take a look at it, but if you can get $3,250 on a 2-bedroom ADU, then that sounds pretty good.
Okay.
On the long-term side of things.
Okay, I'd love to just see how it pencils out comparatively, because so many people talk about short-term rentals. And like I said, I've never been in the game. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people like me out there that are like, okay, well, I have this house and, I just lost my tenant. Now I got to go get a new tenant. Maybe I should think about short-term rental, but they don't know anything about it. And if I knew, like, okay, I could do this for, $36,000 a year or $40,000 a year in long-term, or I could do it for $120 short-term. Yeah. Well, shit. Maybe I would do the short term.
And it depends on the market. Where are we, right? What area are you in? San Diego is a 12-month a year market. Any property with 3 beds, 2 baths is going to have success if you put in the right marketing, the right furniture, everything like that.
Got it.
It just depends where we are.
Okay.
You're in Simi Valley. I don't know much about Simi Valley.
So I think it'd be cool, Micah, maybe after this, like I'll give them the address. Because we're going to push out that video on the whole thing that we did with the Airbnb, and it'd be nice, or with the ADU, it'd be nice to have like a little comparison when we do it and say, here's what we rented it out for, but we also looked at short-term rentals, and that might be a really cool comparison to post with it. Yeah,
totally.
Let's do that. Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Interesting to see.
All right, so you also have a vending machine business. Okay, and I find that to be really interesting. Yeah. I have friends that do that. I also have friends that have laundromats.
Okay, cool.
And so, these little cash businesses. So I want to talk about that for a minute. I'll tell you a little story on just my exposure to vending machines. Okay. So my wife had a dance studio, and, it was captive audience. Kids would be there for, hours upon hours at a time. And, they would want snacks and waters and whatever. And so we bought a vending machine and put it in that location.
Nice.
And initially, my kids were much smaller when we first started that. And initially, I was like, I'd go by there and go visit my wife running it and, see my kids dancing and all that. And so I would just go to Costco or to, what's the other one? Smart and Final, and just get, stuff, and I'd just fill it up there. No big deal.
You were a vending machine operator.
I was. I would do like, I'd spend 15, 20 minutes restocking it, and all the kids would gather around, watch me do it. It was kind of funny until my son got old enough where I'm like, hey, you want to make a little bit of money? Here, you do this. And then he started doing it. Okay, cool. And so, it would make a few $100s a week, something like that, profit. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it was a few $100s a week. And
that's really
anyway, but it was a lot of work for one location. Like the restocking was like all the time. It wasn't some of these newer, very sophisticated machines that hold tons of product. Like you have to keep restocking things. So tell me, how did you get into the vending machine business? Because I think that people do hear about that a lot, and they would like to know if they wanted to start that, how they would start.
You can bootstrap it. You can find a location that has a lot of foot traffic, and you can buy your own machine, place it there, kind of like what you guys did, right? You had a need, you saw the need, you went and bought the machine, boom, done, right? You can go and talk to building operators. You can talk to property managers, say, hey, you have 1,000 tenants. Would it make sense for a vending machine here? I would love to put one in for free, right? I will buy it. I will stock it. You pay me nothing, right? That's an ideal situation.
Okay.
What you can also do is you can go on Biz Buy Sell. You can go on whatever business website that is, acquisition.com. Whoever's selling a company, whoever's selling a portion of their portfolio, you can go pay for it. That's what I did.
Okay.
So I was able to get started by buying 2 heavy cash flow machines in downtown San Diego by Petco Park in 2 big apartment complexes from this guy who had about 50 machines at the time.
Okay, so wait. So you went on bizbuysell.com and you searched for vending machines and you saw these were already in place, operable, had like a history, and this guy sold. So what kind of multiple do you pay for that?
You have to consider the value of the machine. So each of those smart machines are worth about $5,000 to $7,000.
Okay.
And that's what they were. That's what I was interested in. Based on what I was learning and reading about, the smarter the machine, the less maintenance there. You don't want the like zzz, that kind of machine that's like pumping out candy bars and they're getting stuck and people are shaking them, right? I was like, I want to get some sexy luxury machines that are as easy as opening up a refrigerator.
Okay.
Swiping a card. And that's what they are. They're smart coolers. They're not even vending machines, right? They're smart coolers. They have RDIF technology. You put little tags on them. Those tags, when you take them out of the machine, charge whatever card was used to open them.
So it's only credit cards.
Only credit cards, no cash.
No cash.
Nope.
And is it connected with a cellular connection? Like not Wi-Fi. These are to cell towers, right?
It comes with the machine. You pay for it. It's like $80 a month.
Okay, but that's what it is. It's like
like a
having
cell.
It's like having a Verizon home box.
Exactly,
Like it's connected to the cell towers.
It's like the shape of this mic. It's
Yeah.
that big.
Yeah.
Just put on top of the machine. It's magnetic.
Okay, and so you pay $80 a month for that connection,
Something like that. Yeah.
and then you can see what's going on with it. You can if there's a fault or something,
Live
you
feed,
get alerted. Does it have cameras and stuff in it too?
Yeah.
Okay,
There are
You're not
cameras.
watching people do it.
There are cameras at one of the locations because it gets broken into a lot.
So that's a downside, right?
Yeah, it hasn't happened in a while.
Okay. Is there insurance for that, or that's just a loss?
No, they find out who it is and then they kick that tenant out.
Oh, okay. It's usually a tenant.
Yeah.
Got it.
It was, and then it was homeless people, and so they just beefed up their security. It's all good now.
Okay. All right. But that's a cost. The vandalism's a cost at times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure stuff gets stolen every day.
Okay.
Not every day, every week.
So you found these 2, and the guy wanted to sell. He had 50 of them. He wanted to sell 2 out of his portfolio.
Yeah.
You saw what they were making, which was what?
Each one was doing about $1,500 a month.
Wow.
In gross revenue.
Wow. Okay. And what's the cost of goods for that?
Probably $200 to $300 a month.
That's pretty good.
It's not bad, right?
Okay.
Well, if each can of Celsius costs you $1 and you're selling it for $5, it's pretty good margins.
That's a very good
And that's
margin.
what our margins are.
Do you have to pay for the electricity?
No.
So the apartment building says, okay, this is a service. We don't have to maintain it. This guy's going to take care of it. It helps it's another amenity that we can offer to our. So you're not even paying to be in that location. You're not paying them a commission.
No.
It's literally free location and all the profit's yours.
Exactly. The guy who I bought these machines from, he basically was my mentor for the first 6 months because I didn't know what I was doing. Again, I didn't watch a how-to.
You have a habit of doing that.
I didn't pay. I like to do. I like to get my feet wet. I like to just jump in. I don't really want to learn something from someone until recently, right? Like when I joined Rich's Mastermind, when I joined Patrick's, that was the first time in my life where I was like, fine, I'll pay someone to show me.
Yeah.
This is totally different. These were like, again, I was young, 20s. I was just like, might as well just try this. And he was helping me. He was guiding me, and he was like, never pay these buildings anything. You're providing a service. And make sure it's a sexy looking fridge so that it's something that they see as valuable.
Yeah.
Make sure you do the job correctly. Fill these up, right? He's like, I can't believe that people pay 10% of the profit. Like 10% of the profit can be like $100 a month. Why is an apartment complex that charges $5,000 a room? Why do they even care about
It's
that?
insignificant.
Yeah, it's more about the mentality of the property management. It's more about the like, oh, he should be paying us something, right? His machine is here. It's like that's not the way I do my business. I'm not going to pay a building to place my machine. If anything, and I do have this, I have clients that pay me.
Got it.
I provide a service for them, and they're going to pay
interesting.
me. Yeah.
Okay, so a machine like this where it's spitting off $1,200 a month of profit, you have the history of it. What do you pay for that? For that business, I guess.
Yeah, so I paid $40,000 for both machines. The machine each machine is worth about $7,000, maybe a little less.
Okay.
And then you just do a 2x multiple on the annual revenue.
That's pretty standard.
Pretty standard. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not like if I were to buy like 40 machines, I'm sure the multiple would be a lot more, but it's a small mini business, right? Mini vending machine business. And I was a solo operator, just going to do it myself.
Did you finance that?
No, I just paid. I had used a credit card.
Okay.
0%. Paid them with that.
Okay,
He took
you
an
did
invoice.
finance it 0%.
I financed it for a year. I was able to pay it all off though in 18 months.
That's
Yeah.
another great hack,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you don't need to go out and get an SBA loan or a bank loan to do that. You can just use at that amount. You can just use
If you have good
0%
credit-
and
if you get good credit,
play
you can
that
get it.
game. Yeah, you
Exactly.
got to have good credit for
You
sure.
gotta have good credit, and if they can provide an invoice, which anyone can do. Anyone can write up an invoice with the Wave app. It's really easy. I've like encouraged like other vendors I work with, like gardeners and stuff. I'm like, hey, sign up for this app and take my freaking credit card. I'm tired of paying you my cash. I hate paying cash. And I hate zelling people too. I'm
Yeah.
like, give me a freaking invoice. Let me set up auto pay, and then you don't have to bother me anymore.
That's
Because I
good.
have 35 of these houses now. I don't want to pay every different gardener the same, So he's great, and he was able to let me pay with a card.
Okay, so tell me, because I haven't heard of what is the Wave app?
Wave app's just any kind of, it's like Square app. It's like any kind of payment processor that allows you to write up original invoices for free. And so they take like 1% of whatever the cost is. And that's how I've run a lot of my business. And before I was doing trust accounting and taking in all the revenue, I was charging my clients, please pay me, right? Please, sending them an invoice. And so I don't do that as much anymore.
But it's only 1%,
It's something like that. I think
which
it's
is less than
I think it's like 0.8.
most of them.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
yeah.
great.
Okay, great.
It's easy. Yeah.
Okay.
So-
All right. That's another great hack. I mean,
Yeah.
so how many vending machines do you have now?
5.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're all doing that kind of volume?
No. 2 of them downtown do, like I said, about 1,500 each. It varies, right? In the summers, they pop off because everyone's going up to the pool and they're grabbing their Celsius, they're grabbing candy, whatever. Winters, it's slow. It's kind of like any vacation market, right? It's just seasonal. And then I have one in Carlsbad that does about 800 to 1,000 a month, but they pay me because I basically pitched them this way. I'm like, this food's expensive. You have employees that work hard. Do you want me to sell this food at a profit that's going to make sense for my business, or do you want to subsidize it and pay me $1,000 a month, and I'll make this food really cheap?
Ah,
So that's how we did it.
that's great.
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect.
So
And
that's
they were
inside
in.
a business.
It's inside a large office.
Okay.
About 500
It's like
employees.
more healthy food then?
It's healthier. Yeah.
It's
It's not like chips and candy. It's like sandwiches and bowls.
Oh,
and-
okay, so it's stuff that can go bad if it's not purchased. too.
Yeah, it goes bad within 5 days.
Yeah.
Breakfast burritos, stuff like that.
So who maintains these? Who goes around and refills them?
It was me for a year and a half, and then I finally hired a guy that I met off Craigslist.
Okay. All right. And he does all of them.
Does all of
He
them.
just does his route.
Yep.
And takes care of them. It's
great.
He's trustworthy. And what do you pay somebody like that?
20 an hour
Okay.
to start. I would like to pay him more. Just
Okay.
need to build trust and time.
Yeah.
Time.
It sounds like a great business.
It's really easy now. I don't do anything.
Yeah.
He goes to Costco for me. He fills up other machines. He fills up our storage unit. It used to be like 10 hours a week for me, and I'm like, I'm worth more than 10
Yeah.
hours a week of this. So
That's great leverage.
yeah. So it's been great. It's very passive. Now that I'm paying him though, it's like obviously like my profits cut in half.
Yeah.
It's still like probably like 1,500, 2,000 a month of profit that I'm doing nothing for.
That's pretty good. So, okay, what happens if he's sick? Let's talk about personnel issues.
Oh, he's ghosted me before for like 10 days, and then I just jump back in. It's like
You got to
nothing,
go in
like
and start
nothing changed.
refilling. You're like, here I am again, driving around.
I work for myself. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
So I go and do that
Okay.
occasionally. He hasn't done that to me in a while.
Gotcha.
My boy John's been good.
Is he your only employee with all your businesses?
No, he's
Okay.
one of 5.
Okay.
But that's just the vending machine's totally separate from Elevate Vacation Homes.
Got
So
it.
My vacation home management company, I have a full-time operations manager, Delaney. She's like me, a former teacher. I recruited her. She was a math teacher. And I'm like, you're too smart for this. You're going to come work and help me grow this business. So she's been crushing it. She's full-time. And then I have 2 full-time assistants that work in the Philippines that handle all the guest communication, cleaning, maintenance, all that stuff.
Wait, cleaning? Oh, meaning
They
managing
trend-
who's going
they
out
do
there.
all
and
the clean. Exactly.
Got it. Got
Yeah.
it. And so they manage the cleaning crew or what have you.
Exactly.
Okay.
They help manage it. So did I say 5? I think 5 total, including me. So 4.
Got it.
I'm on payroll for myself.
Yeah,
So
of course.
I make myself look really poor so that if I need any kind of proof of income, it's like, look, I only make this much money a month. It's helpful when you're dealing with taxes and stuff. So you can
Yeah.
say that I only made, maybe I don't say this publicly, but I'm like, I only made like $3,000 a month IRS. So it's, the rest is in the business. It's in the business.
Yep, I get it. I get
Yeah.
it. All right, so let's what about clients? Like now you have all these customers for, that you're managing their properties. Have you had any customers that are difficult?
Well, that's the most interesting part about working with people and being in a business that deals with people constantly, right? It's not like a single transaction. You sell a home to someone, buy, you don't talk to them anymore. I am in relationship with these people. I'm talking to them, some of them every week. Ideally, it's once a month or less. But I do have some characters. I have some clients that drive me crazy. I would say that they are crazy. They're mentally ill and mentally unstable. I've dealt with some pretty tough people. We just fired our first client this month, which was exciting. I was so proud of myself.
Was that for one property that you managed for them?
Yeah.
How did that go about? What happened?
They were demanding payment after each booking, which doesn't make sense because you get paid 5 to 7 days after. And they were claiming that I was hoarding the money and stealing from them. And I don't like being told that I'm doing something wrong if I'm not. And so I asked them to stop doing that, and they kept doing it and just kept claiming that I was stealing from them. And it's funny when people threaten you with a lawsuit, they threaten to take you to court.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I would love to see you spend $500 an hour for a lawyer to recoup the $300 you think I'm stealing from you.
Yeah.
Please, God, I beg you to do that.
Right.
And once you say that, no response.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, like shut the hell up. You're not going to sue me. You're not going to pay your lawyer $500. I know what lawyers cost. I've hired lawyers before.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it. So enough with the bullshit. Either let me manage your property and stop bothering me, or we're done. And they wouldn't stop bothering me. So I said, okay, this is your 30 days.
Fired.
You're fired.
Sometimes you have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was getting ridiculous. So
Any others?
Yeah. I have a client who and she's very and it's almost like I have a soft spot for her. Like, and that's what sucks with business. Sometimes you got to keep your emotions out of it. You know that. You've been in business for yourself for many years. But I'm still young and immature, and I'm still keeping my emotions in it, and so I feel bad for her. And she's on a discounted rate. I'm managing her properties at a discounted fee.
How many properties?
3.
Okay.
And so it's a big chunk of it's 10% of my business. And so am I ready to let go 10% of my business's income? That's another question too. And so I feel bad for her. I want to help her, but there's a lot of mania, right? I get messages at 11 p.m. at night. What the fuck is going on? I checked the Ring camera. They brought in 2 dogs. It's all this shit. And I'm like, first of all, stop looking at the Ring camera.
Yeah.
You hired a manager. It's our job to do that. Second of all, who cares? Who cares? Right? Why are you concerned about this?
Yeah.
And third, don't you dare call me at 11 p.m. It's happened so many times where I'm now more comfortable ignoring her. But 8 months
Initially.
ago, initially when I first hired, she was one of my first clients.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, I got to answer this person and take care of her. And it just got to a point where I was like, oh my God, I'm so stressed. I'm gonna disappoint her. And then I'm at a point now where if I ignore her, the next day she's no longer on the drug rage, right? She's into this drug called GHB. It's some kind of thing that makes you really riled up. It's a testosterone boost, but when women take it, they just become crazy. Yeah.
So it's growth hormone.
GHB. I'm not really familiar with it.
Do you know what that is, Micah?
No.
Look that up. GHB.
It's some kind of stimulant, and so whenever she's on it, her veins are all popping out. She looks like she lifts weights all the time, and she's like, "Oh no, it makes you crazy horny, makes you have crazy energy." And I'm like, "Why are you telling me this?" It's
She sounds a little crazy.
Yeah, and I'm not scared of her. Right? She's like 80 pounds. She's tiny, but she looks like she's jacked, and she's like. Yeah, and it's the story. I could tell a lot of stories about this person.
That is manic.
It is manic. It's really sad. It's like a
GHB.
Is it GHB or T?
No, it's GHB.
No, G, like growth hormone something.
It's like people take it to party. It's like a party drug for some of these people.
Drug stimulates growth hormone. What? GHB.
Yeah, it's
Project GHB. What?
Bodybuilding and steroids. Yeah, so there's like a weird connection with bodybuilding and steroids.
Heard of it as a rape drug.
Oh, whoa.
Geez, you probably heard of it as a rape drug. Yeah. That's what it says there.
GHB users in the gym thought they found God's gift. They told everyone about it. Yeah, it's awful for you.
Oh.
Look at this guy.
Yeah, that's not very pretty.
No. So it's meant to be like a stimulant for bodybuilders. That's what she said. She's like,
she's on it.
Yeah,
Who the hell put her on
she's
that?
addicted to it. I don't know. I don't ask questions.
kinda
It's not my
crazy.
business, but it now is my business for some reason. So doing these meetings at her house, I come in, she's jacked up on it, her eyes are going everywhere. I think she's on coke, and really,
She ever hit on you?
Oh yeah, she flirts with everyone, and I think that's where her main game is. Like she gets like these contractors come over, she flirts with them, she's touching their butts, and she's like,
What the hell?
yeah, and then they do work for free for her. And I'm like, first of all, I'm married, so please stop touching me. Second of all, I'm not doing this for free. I think that's what the expectation is sometimes. It's like, oh, like she gave me 3 properties. She's connecting me with other people in the business. I think she thinks it's now I owe her a favor.
Oh my gosh.
And so yeah, there was issues in the beginning for sure. She's touching my face. She's like rubbing her hands through my hair. She's grabbing my butt, and I'm like, this is This is making me super uncomfortable. Yeah, and she's older too. She's like 15 years older than me, and I'm like, this is really bizarre behavior.
So
yeah, and it's just
you got to record it next time. You got to wear a body cam.
I've told her that. I'm like,
it's
you
so
need
hilarious.
your own TV show because
Seriously.
you could seriously like I've sent cleaners to her house before, and she just gets naked. And
What?
I know, and that
Wait,
doesn't.
what?
I know. There's really no rhyme or reason for it. Like the cleaner calls me, and I'm like, hey Marissa, what's going on? She's like, so and so just got naked. She has music blasting. She has men over here. We don't know who they are. She's drinking wine, but also is taking Adderall, and we're a little nervous, but I think we can handle this. And I'm like, okay, you guys need to leave now. Why is she naked? And they're like, we don't know. We think she took too much of the G. She calls it the G, right? So it's
Okay.
it's been a mission dealing with difficult people, but she's not difficult. She's just a lot.
She's
to deal
harmless, but that is,
She's
yeah.
harmless, but she's not at the same
Right.
time because I have these cleaners going over there, and they're not my employees. Right? Luckily, I sub this out.
Yeah.
But imagine if they're my employees. My employees go here. She's like putting Adderall on her finger, telling them to snort it. She's trying to get them to
wacky.
party with her. Yeah, and they end up staying there for 8 or 9 hours when they were supposed to be there for 4. And then I gave her the bill the next day. I'm like, hey, here's the invoice. She's like, fuck no, I'm not paying $180 for this. I'm not paying. And the bill ends up being like $600 because it's invoiced at like 35 to 40 an hour.
Yeah.
And she's like, but we were talking, we were hanging out, and I'm like, no,
They didn't want to hang out with you.
I think you think they were doing that. They were working and talking to you, and she's like, that's fucking bullshit. They were not working. They were and I'm like, and I call Marissa. I'm like, were you guys like hanging out with her? And she's like, God no, we were not. We were working, and
But she was distracting them, and it took longer.
yeah. So it's a
my
battle now.
gosh.
She's like, hey, can you send me a contractor to clean my carpets? And I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry, but I need you to hire these people from now on because every time I send them, and this is not the first time it's happened where they do work for her and then the invoice is $300. She's like, $300 to clear my AC vents? That's bullshit. I'm not paying I'm like, why did you ask me to do it then? Because now I have to go to these contractors and ask them to lower their price. I got emails from Anderson Plumbing and Heating Co. They're like, hey, your client didn't pay us, and I'm like, oh Jesus, this is terrible. This is such a hard person to work with. But again, I'm learning. I still have a difficult problem with. It's very difficult for me to cut people off and fire them, especially if I feel like I need to help them.
Well, there's that side of it, right? Where you who else is going to help her?
Who else is going to do this?
Who else is going to do that?
No
And
one's going
then
to deal with this.
She is 10% of the business right now.
Yeah, and she told me, she's like, I'm going to get another property manager who's willing to pick up my mom's rugs and bring them to my personal home. And I'm like,
Okay.
we're not a concierge business. I'm like, you should do that. And I point blank have been like, please use another management company. Nothing, no response.
Yeah.
Next day, hi, sweetie.
It's a
You think
bluff.
you can start? Yeah, it's a bluff. It's
Yeah.
totally a bluff to see if to see how far she can push me. And
She wants attention.
yeah, it doesn't work. And at this point, I've known her for almost a year now, so I'm like, okay, I know what
Now
this
you
is.
know- now you
this
know
is
what
a
to
little bit of
expect.
mania.
So
I just
funny.
ignore. I'm not answering the phone at 7 p.m. I'm sorry. And fucking asshole, you make thousands off me. You don't even give me the time of day for an in-person meeting. And I'm like, in-person about what? You're gonna get naked and you're gonna start touching everyone. I don't want to deal with it. Like,
Oh my gosh. What does your wife think of that?
my wife hates it.
She just wants you to fire her.
She wants me to fire.
Yeah.
But she also she sees
She understands.
She understands. She's like, we gotta stick through with this, and maybe once we're at 50 properties in her
There you
management,
go.
it's someone you go. Okay,
There you go.
It's no longer 10% of my business now; it's 5. And
Yeah.
so,
That's so funny.
but it's almost funny at this point, right? It's
Yeah.
it's
It is. All right. Hey,
a lot.
let's talk for a minute about what's going on right now because you drove here and you have a Tesla.
yeah,
Right?
My
And so-
swastika car.
Yeah. So there's a lot of press about Tesla right now because of Musk being, the head of Doge and so much controversy. But the last couple of days has really been heightened. Like you see the burning of cars, the vandalism, threats. Like, I can't even believe the news. These are people that just are car owners and they're being threatened.
Yeah.
Has that happened to you?
My advice for someone selling their home: number 1, do it yourself and save. Number 2, use HomePie.
HomePie makes it easy to buy or sell without an agent. I can list a home in minutes and start receiving offers right away from buyers.
When we discovered that we didn't have to lose $40,000 in agent commission just to upsize to a larger home, it was an obvious choice.
List your home for free at homepie.com. Keep your piece of the pie.
My car's not been vandalized, no.
Okay.
And I left it in North Park, a very liberal part of San Diego, for 6 days when I went on vacation a few weeks ago, and nothing happened.
And it was
with
fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, let's just be real here. The people that are doing this are the low scum. They might not even care what Elon has said or done. They just want to. They're like, oh shit, I get to vandalize something.
Yeah.
It's so funny how it used to be 10 years ago. The people that drove electric cars, Priuses, were like the snooty, like San Francisco liberals that were, driving it's good for the planet, it's good for the earth. I'm not spending any money on gas. I'm saving money, right?
Yeah.
The Prius craze, the Tesla craze, about I'd say about 4 or 5 years ago, everyone was buying a Model 3 when they came out.
Yeah.
And now it's totally flipped, right? Like Elon is now more publicly conservative.
That's right.
Now it's a swastika car.
Yeah, so
Ugh,
it's not even about the electricity or anything. It's just a statement.
Yeah, it's so crazy now. It's not about that anymore. It's,
Yeah.
Everyone's making electric cars now. So
yeah, it's interesting. And let's talk about Prius for a second, because if you're like me, when you're driving and you wind up behind a car and maybe traffic is rolling at 70 and this car is going 51, it's typically a Prius, right?
Yeah, they're slow as hell.
Okay, so they're usually the slowest car, and they're like Mr. Magoo. They don't even look where they're going, and it's like they're just not great drivers. Second worst driver is, I think, a lot of those people migrated into Tesla, Model 3, Model Y. So I think it's the same people.
I think so too. It's so funny you say that. I drove a Prius for 3 years.
There you go.
And then I migrated into the Tesla. The Prius was to save money. The Tesla was, I'm like, this thing is fast as hell. I love this car.
But they're still driving like 40 and a 60. And
really? Okay, a lot of
no, yeah, like pay attention
I don't drive
to
slow.
it.
I drive
Micah,
really fast.
would you agree with me?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
That's funny.
Always.
It's always like you're either it's like a Tesla or it's one of these other. Now it's not the Model S, and it's not the Cybertruck. Like those seem to be just regular
It's like
drivers.
the mom car. It's like the mom side. It's like the mom Tesla.
Yeah,
It's like the big,
and it's not even the X. It's the Ys and it's the smaller ones.
Yeah.
So,
oh, it's funny.
So the truck comes out, right? And by the way, I had put a deposit on the truck.
I did too.
The 3 battery one or whatever was supposed to have, I think, a range
tri-motor.
of like 500 miles, which it didn't wind up doing that. But it came out and I was like, that fucker is ugly. Forget it. I canceled. I really didn't think that's what they were really going to go to market with.
But that's the best part about it. It's an eyesore. It's going to
It
make
is
people
so
turn
bad.
heads. But this is my theory behind it. I'm going to get one. I'm saying this now.
Wait. You're going to get one of the existing model.
I'm going to get a Cybertruck eventually.
Now, but there's a lot of talk right now, and who knows if it's real or whatever, but posts about them redoing the design.
That's fine. Whenever
Have you seen this? Go online and you look up new Cybertruck. Find something either in TikTok or you can do a Google search or whatever. But let's find it, because it looks more like a truck. And I thought they were going to do that when they launched it, but when it came out with this, it's just ugly.
Oh, it looks more like a truck now.
I think
The Cybertruck 2.0 concept.
No, go on TikTok and search, because that's where I'm seeing the posts on these. That red one might be it. On the top left. No, the
top left one.
Top right one now. Yeah, there.
This one?
Yeah, that might be
that looks
what I'm
gross.
seeing.
That looks bad.
But that's just the back side of it.
Interesting.
Anyway, so keep looking, Micah, and see if you can find maybe on TikTok. But so let's say that they change the model, looks more like a truck. Are you still interested?
I think so. I think that they turn heads. I know they're ugly. Like objectively, they're like not pretty looking cars, right?
Oh, they're totally ugly.
Yeah, they're shaped
butt ugly.
They're shaped geometrically. They look like something out of a PlayStation 1 video game from back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, right.
And I love it. And the reason I love it is because it's going to make people look at me. And I want people, whatever business I'm doing in a year.
Billy, I hate to break it to you. They're not looking at you. They're
laughing at me?
They're looking at the truck.
Okay,
they're not looking at you.
Yeah, okay, that's my point. They're going to look at the truck. They're going to see whatever logo is on it. Vacation rental management, luxury vacation rental management.
Okay.
Luxury vending.
You're going to wrap it.
I'm going to wrap it with some kind of.
You know that doesn't make it look better.
It's going to make it look a little better than the stainless steel. I'm going to wrap it with some kind of matte black, some kind of sexy gloss. It's gonna have whatever logo of the business that I'm pursuing at the time. Because I'm gonna say this now. I'm not gonna commit to vacation rental management forever. Patrick's not going to either. It's gonna be something that I sell eventually.
Okay.
Whatever business I'm doing is going to be on that Cybertruck. People are going to look at it even 5 years from now. Oh, I can't believe people used to buy Cybertrucks. I hope I still have a truck that looks good enough to where people are looking at it. And I know they're ugly, but I think they're going to be good marketing tools.
Okay. All right. Hey, there's a lot there to advertise on.
We'll see what the
there's
before
a lot
and
of metal.
after. We'll see what the before and after is on my cold leads, my cold calls, when I have my phone number on there marketing luxury vacation rental management.
Well, if it was right now, you probably would lose a lot of customers too. Right?
We'll let it all die down for now. We'll let all the Nazi stuff
maybe
die
do that
down.
first.
Yeah.
Maybe do that first. Yeah, there.
Is this it?
Yeah. So who knows if this is really going to be coming out, but this is what they're saying is going to be the new model. I don't know. Yeah, who knows if this is real?
That looks a little better.
But it looks a lot better.
Yeah, you think so?
It definitely looks a lot better.
I want to see what the butt looks like.
I have a Raptor.
Oh, you
and
do?
I've
Okay.
had
Those are cool
F-150s since 1999. First F-150 I got was the
Looks a lot better.
Harley Davidson Super Crew.
Okay.
And then I've had them ever since. They're just great trucks. They're just fantastic. But I'll tell you what, even though I've had all these F-150s, this Raptor, it's a 23, Gen 3. It is the absolute best truck I've ever had.
Really?
I would venture to say best car. The way it rides, it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
So before you buy your Cybertruck, take one for a drive.
Okay. See what I think of the way.
And then you tell me which one you're really going to get.
Okay.
Okay.
Should I test drive a Raptor too?
100%. That's what I'm saying. Test drive the Raptor. Go drive your Cybertruck.
I want a truck, but what's the gas mileage on the Raptor? Am I going to
Really? Go get another short-term rental.
Yeah. Should we even be asking this question more? How much is gas going to cost for me? I think it's funny when people talk about gas prices too, because they'll go like, "Oh, I go to Costco and I save 10 cents a gallon." I'm like, "Yeah, you wait for 30 minutes to save
at least
$4 fucking dollars."
Yeah, at least.
That's a poverty mindset. I hope you go to Costco and waste 30 minutes of your day.
Yeah, I've never done that.
Stupid.
Anyway, all right. So Billy, you're doing a lot. You're doing the vending. You're doing the short-term rental. You've got a podcast now, right? What's the name of it?
I haven't recorded a podcast in a while on
Okay.
my own, but I want to do something eventually with it.
Okay.
I would like to do a podcast, but what you're doing is great. I like being on people's podcasts.
Yeah. Well, we like having you.
It's less work for me.
You're funny.
No, this has been fun.
But yeah, buddy. So if somebody wants to reach you, if they want some help with their short-term rental, maybe they want you to mentor them.
Yeah.
Or they're interested in vending. How do they get a hold of you?
They can find me on Instagram, billy.elevate. Billy Elevate, Billy Perez. It'll show up. I want that to kind of be my brand, the Elevate brand, right?
Yeah.
I know it's a common word, and a lot of businesses have that word in them, but Billy Elevate is kind of my pseudonym for my own name. Is that the right word? My stage name.
That works.
Billy Elevate. Yeah, if you want coaching, I do mentorship. I do have 2 students that I meet with weekly. It's great. I like mentoring people. I think I missed that part of my career is teaching, right? Being able to teach someone. And I still teach a class at a university in San Diego, Point Loma, Nazarene University, where I graduated from.
Okay.
With my Spanish degree. So I still teach a class down there, and then I do coaching. And so I still am in the teaching world a little bit. So people
love
are
it.
interested in that, they can find me on Instagram. All my links are there.
For sure. Like if you're younger and you're thinking about getting into real estate, no better person to find somebody like Billy. He's a teacher. He can show you the ropes. He learned it the hard way, and he's super successful at it today. So guys, if you're interested, reach out to Billy. Once again, thanks for joining us on The Blueprint. If we brought you value today, please like, subscribe, follow, share with your friends. That really helps us out here, and we'll see you next time on The Blueprint.